Perfect. All right. Welcome. We started a little bit late. We had an alarm issue here. This is the Wednesday evening meeting of La Leche League of Lehigh County. Today's date is Wednesday, August 10th, 2016.
Yes. Summer is flying by.
Yes. Yes. So, Samina, do you want to introduce what
Sure.
La Leche League is
Sure.
to those who are not familiar?
Sure. So my name is Samina. I'm one of the Leche League Leaders. I believe we now have 5 leaders.
Yes,
total.
5 in Lehigh County and 3 in Bethlehem.
Right. Which is wonderful for those moms that need to call in and things. On the telephone we get a lot of phone helping calls that we tend to do. So today's meeting, the topic is gentle discipline, which as pretty much all of you know, when you have a baby, that's like or a toddler, that's the ideal way to discipline, but it's not always easy to discipline, and gentle discipline is the ideal way, which we'll go into a little bit. So just before we do that, I'll kind of introduce myself in terms of my children's ages and things like that. So my name is Samina, as I said. I'm one of the Leche League Leaders. I have 3 children. 1 is with me. All 3 were breastfed for 2+ years. Individual, each one. So the oldest, she's 13. Her name is Maliha. She is home. My second daughter, Nadia, is 11, who's behind me. You may see her popping in and out of the video right here. She just came in. And then my son, John, is 8. And we just had a new addition to the family, a non-human addition to the family, who obviously did not breastfeed from me. His name is Draco Anthony. He is a bearded dragon, which we just got, and he is home also. I'll let you go, and then you can introduce yourself.
Yes. Well, my name's Alyssa Mayarta, and I am one of the 5 La Leche League leaders in Lehigh County. I'm also involved in Lehigh Valley Breastfeeding Coalition, and I do respond to messages sent to the coalition as well as to La Leche League of Lehigh County. So I know some people out there have contacted me that way. I have 2 children. Jeremiah is now 4, and never thought I would say this before I had children, and even when I first had him, but he is still nursing just before bed. It's just for a few minutes, but that's our cuddle time.
Right.
And I have a 2-year-old Jethro who is still nursing, although he does get most of his nutrition through a feeding tube, which until recently included breast milk through his feeding tube. So that is my background. La Leche League was founded in 1956 by 7 women who met at a church picnic, and it was at a time when formula was what was recommended by most doctors. It was the scientific way to feed your baby, but there were still lots of women who wanted to breastfeed, and they felt like they just didn't have the support, so they formed a support group, and it very quickly grew. And now La Leche League International will be later this year celebrating its 60th year, and it's in over 60 countries in the world. Right. The exact number shifts from year to year, and throughout the U.S. This month is both Pennsylvania and National Breastfeeding Month. Last week was World Breastfeeding Week, so we had lots of events going on locally. And there are events going on throughout the country and the world. La Leche League has, throughout the month of August, has Live, Love, Latch events taking place all over the United States. And we had one this past Saturday, and we have another one. Bethlehem is doing theirs at the end of the month on the 27th. So that's a nice way to celebrate everything that's going on locally with breastfeeding. And one of the things that La Leche League International really espouses is finding what works for your family. So you may hear things tonight or on any of these videos or at any meeting that you don't necessarily agree with. Take what works for you and leave the rest behind. But it's definitely family-centered and focused on what works for the family. So speaking of family, one of the things that, with gentle discipline, we were talking about, how do you handle when you have multiple children and one is breastfeeding and the others are not at that moment. What do you do with them, and how do you keep them from terrorizing your house?
Terrorizing or disrupting the breastfeeding that's going on is the other thing. A lot of sometimes the older brother or sister has a little bit of a jealousy. It comes out a little more.
Yes.
So one of the things that I did, I had my girls were 23 months apart. So initially I had them tandem feeding. So my oldest daughter nursed right throughout my pregnancy. And it's just sort of on a side note, but, a lot of people say, oh, but aren't you concerned that the baby's not going to get any nutrition? And they're concerned. But my second daughter, who you just saw, she was 9 pounds 3 ounces at birth, despite my other daughter breastfeeding throughout. So she got plenty of nutrition. Any more than that, I don't know how I would have delivered her. But so that was all good. But once she was born, I had my 2 girls tandem nursing for a few months. But then my older one, we used gentle discipline to wean her, just because it became a little too much for me, nursing the 2 children at the same time. And so what I did was, at that time, it would be movie time, that we'd put on a show that she could watch whilst I was nursing, or would have that snack time, or she would have a special coloring book at that time, or a book that we would read at that time. And it was sort of gentle. Sometimes I would have to say, okay, mommy's gonna dance with you. So as soon as we're done, we'll do this. So she'd be waiting, and then that would be her, almost like a payoff, her thing that she was excited to do, and that made it okay for me to be nursing her sister at the time. So that's one way to do it, is just having a special activity with the other child whilst you're nursing the second child, and that I found that worked quite well for me, several years ago when I was doing that.
Yeah, I also tandem nurse because my 2 boys are about 23 months apart in age.
Right.
And I had because of medical issues surrounding my younger one, I had a very sudden weaning towards the end of the pregnancy, the last month. I very suddenly said, this is too much. I need to give myself a chance to get through this.
Right.
So it wasn't out of concern for Jethro, it was more for my sanity.
Yes. Right, sure.
And that was very difficult because it was a very sudden thing, and sometimes that happens where because of a medical issue, you do have a sudden weaning. And one of the things that I did was I tried to keep him occupied. So during the day, because I knew he didn't really need it during the day for nutrition, I knew it was more of a comfort thing. So I made sure for the first 2 weeks, I made sure that we were going on play dates and running errands and doing lots of things, keeping him busy.
Yes.
And, by the end of that first 2 weeks, he had gotten the idea of, no, not right now.
Right.
Milky's went away for now. And he stopped asking, and that in itself was tough for me. That when he stopped asking, it was hard when he was asking, and I had to tell him no, as gently as I could. But no, mommy's not doing Milky's right now. Right. And then because he was not quite 2, but then when he stopped asking, that was just
emotionally trying.
He's not asking me for a special thing anymore.
Yes.
So that was difficult, so we had another 2 weeks of I was struggling with it.
Which is common, it's so hard, because it's both of you have to, for the breastfeeding to continue, it's a relationship where you both have to be able to want to do it, and it's not always, and then when you stop, you feel guilty, you feel sad, part of you feels thankful, but there's so many emotions surrounding it that makes it really hard.
And then, fortunately, I had planned that it would be a temporary weaning. With him. I mean, I wasn't going to force it on him, but I expected that he would ask.
Right.
And he did when that first day that I was home after delivering, and my younger one was in the NICU still. I remember, milk.
Right.
And then I had to tell him, no, we're still not doing milk yet.
Right.
You have to wait. We need to make sure that brother is okay and that brother's getting all the milk that he needs. And when I put it that way, it's like, oh,
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Soon, though.
Yes.
Soon.
Yeah.
So, yes, soon. And then, it was just in time for his second birthday that I said, okay, brother is home, brother's gaining weight, now we can do this.
Right.
But we still had the rule of, because Jethro was so tiny, because of the medical conditions, it was, he had to latch on first. So I had to teach Jeremiah that patience of, even though I was tandem nursing, and thank goodness I read the book, published by the Leche League, Adventures in Tandem Nursing.
Right.
But it was so tough to tell him, no, you have to wait. Let him latch on first. Once he's settled, and I know he's nursing well, then you can come latch on.
And that teaches him patience too.
That's right. And it was tough for the first couple weeks, but then he got used to it. And the moments that we had in those first few months where Jethro would have trouble latching on, or he would take a break and Jeremiah was there and he would say, "Yatch on, brother, yatch on." Like, this is the best thing in the world, you're missing out.
Yes, right.
Those moments, that bonding and sweetness between the two of them.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Amazing. So I was so glad that I had taken the time to teach him, not just say, no, you can't have it, but just teach him, okay, this is why you have to wait.
Yes.
Be patient. You will get what you want. You just have to be patient.
Right. And you're right. It does build this real love between the siblings. Because I know with my girls that I would, the baby, I wanted her to, I actually had one breast for each child at one point. Yes. So then, they'd once they were latched on, they'd even hold hands once they were nursing, which is a really, really priceless thing. And I feel like at that time, the thing that helped for me to make it gentle, I tried to avoid the negative words. I'd be like, instead of saying, no, you cannot nurse, I'd be like, we're just going to wait for a few minutes, or, here's your fruit. So I'd give them a positive as opposed to a negative, and I felt like that really helped a lot. And just in not making it sort of not equating the breast, sort of not having breast milk with a negative, but like, it's just like, oh, it's okay, I'll have fruit instead. We're going to read a book instead. We're going to dance instead. And that was that made it a little easier for my older daughter, for Lehigh.
Yeah, and I would use the not yet, and I would say, okay, not yet, but when brother latches on.
Exactly, right.
So I would give him a very clear, okay, you have to wait, but this is this specific thing is going to be your cue for your turn.
Yes, right.
So, and we still use that now that he's 4 and Jethro's 2.
Right.
But yeah, that was definitely teaching some of those limits and some of those boundaries and patience.
Right.
Another great example of teaching boundaries and patience was, I remember when Jeremiah he was just over 1 year old. And he was at the point where we were in a restaurant and he tried to remove my shirt because he wanted milk. And I said, that's it. We need to set a boundary here. I know you want it, but you can't just take it.
Right.
You have to ask first.
Yes.
And at that point, he was using some language, and he was able to sign milk. So he had to sign milk and wait for me.
Right.
To get settled before he could have his milk.
Right.
So that was, again, that gentle discipline.
Yes.
It wasn't a, no, you can't have milk. It was like, you have to wait. You need to ask first.
Right.
And wait for me to get ready.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, which is a great thing. It's wonderful because then, everyone's getting what they need, but everyone's just learning. Discipline is hard for adults to learn, so it's just a nice, gentle way to get them into the rhythm of life.
And even earlier on than when they're signing, when they start teething and when they start biting, I know we get lots of questions about, my baby is biting, what do I do?
Right.
And I'm considering stopping breastfeeding because my baby is biting me and it hurts so much. And that's another great opportunity to start with gentle discipline and setting limits and gentle boundaries. And just, you have a great way of putting it. Would you explain it, how for when a baby bites at the breast?
Oh, well, when the baby bites at the breast, what I would do, and a lot of people feel that it's a negative, but it's actually not. When the baby bites at the breast, you can actually take their head and then gently just push them in, even though you feel like people say, oh, that's cruel, but that just gives them the reflex of opening their mouth. And by doing that, they'll actually release. And you can do that. You can put your finger into the corner of their mouth to break the suction. That works better when they don't have teeth yet. But even with gums, if they bite down, it can be quite painful.
Yeah.
So with very small kind of little teeth coming through. But a lot of times it's just a reflex. It's not cruel. It just if you push them in, it'll just make them open their mouth. You're not trying to suffocate them or smother them, and they don't take it as such. There's not literature saying that they're going to have any issues later in life because of that. It's just a way for them to release. And then it's almost like Pavlov's not the right one, but that how they associate that they know if they bite, they don't get the milk.
Right.
Whereas if they know that there's certain expected behaviors.
That's right.
And within the first 2-3 times, they learn pretty quickly that they're not able to do that. And obviously, you don't push their head in and leave it there. You do it, and within a second they open it, which will be within about 2-3 seconds, and they'll open up. They'll sort of open their mouth. And we, this is what we say in the Leche League, and it works very well.
Yeah.
So.
You had last meeting. You were talking about how you hold them and tell them no.
Oh, that wasn't me. I'm
no,
thinking that was Jennifer.
I'm sorry. You're right. It was one of our other leaders. But just someone told me, just look them right in the eye and say, we don't do that. That hurts mommy.
Right.
We're gentle with mommy.
Right.
And I remember I always used to say, don't bite the boob that feeds you.
Right. Did you want to join us? Somebody just came in. That's why I got all distracted.
But just having that clear, don't laugh at it, because then the baby picks up and starts laughing too.
Right.
But just say that very firm, but gentle. Not yelling at them, but just no.
Right.
Don't bite. That hurts.
And when they on the other side, when they start to nurse the way they should without biting, you praise them a lot.
Absolutely.
Because they want the attention somewhere, and they will take the negative attention if that's what's given to them. So if you're praising them when they don't, saying, oh, that's wonderful, you're listening to mommy, you're drinking comfortably, and you're coming off well, they sense it in your tone of voice. They sense it in what you're saying. And they know what's expected in a positive way. Yeah. So it's not always just the energy's not always the no, it's the positive.
Right. So, I would, and I still do, because now both of my boys, 4 and 2, have lots of teeth, and on occasion I do get caught with a tooth. They don't bite me on purpose, but occasionally, they'll move a funny way. They won't open their mouth all the way, and I'll get caught, and it's uncomfortable. And when that happens, I say, "Hey, please be careful."
Right.
And then when they fix their mouth position, I say, "Thank you. That feels so much better."
Exactly. And then they realize.
Right. Yeah. And I just always said, whenever they fixed it, I would always say, "Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's better. Thank you for fixing it. Thank you for using a big open mouth."
Right. The teaching background helps.
That's right. Yes. That's one of our most common, I would say.
Right.
One of our most common questions is, what do I do? My baby's biting me. And it happens to, I would say, almost everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
Even before babies get teeth, they start, their gums start to hurt and feel uncomfortable, so they start making that mouth movement.
Right. Yeah.
And that can be as early as just 2 or 3 months old.
That's right. And, if you can avoid a cracked nipple, it's better to nip that in the bud, because a cracked nipple you do not wish on your worst enemy.
No.
It's,
that is just so uncomfortable.
It's not pleasant. But we had somebody else just come in, so I'll let her introduce herself. Do you want to be on the camera, or?
I guess it doesn't matter.
We'll let you introduce yourself and the names and ages of your children.
Oh, I'm Jacqueline Garnett Hill. The ones that are with me right now is Moshe. He's 11. Miriam is 15. That's the one that did the little crochet thing for the match. And Eliana, who's 5. She's still breastfeeding.
And then the children here, the ones that
are here.
That are here. Okay.
Yeah, because I have a 22-year-old.
That's right. You've older children.
Yeah.
He's at work right now. We're glad that you were able to join us for today's meeting. So.
I was interested in the
Yes.
The gentleness of play.
Yes.
with
Loving Gudiance.
Oh, Loving Gudiance, pardon me.
Yes.
Thinking.
Well,
Right.
no,
It's sort
Loving
of get
Guidance
together.
is gentle discipline. That's
Shares all
part of what it is.
And it's a work.
And one of the things that we talked about at the Friday meeting, our Friday morning meeting at
Right.
10 a.m., the first Friday of the month, one of the things that we had talked about was how to deal with temper tantrums that aren't breastfeeding related.
Right.
And just, having those, because every kid has them from time to time.
Yes.
Some kids have them more often than others, but every kid has a temper tantrum at some point.
Right.
And how you manage that and how you can sort of guide the expectations both of your child and from your child of
Right.
how things are going to work
Right.
to help avoid those temper tantrum situations.
Yes. Right.
So, things like when you are going someplace, being very clear. I remember we went to Longwood Gardens with my older son.
It's beautiful.
And I knew as we walked around that there were going to be things that I didn't want him touching because they were fragile, or that they weren't appropriate for him to touch. And I said, okay, so when we first set foot in the building, I said, okay, we're going to be walking through the building, and there are going to be things that you can touch and things that you're not supposed to touch. And in each room, as we walk in, I will tell you which things you can touch.
Right.
So he knew that I would let him know what things were safe to touch and what things were especially for him to touch, because that's a beautiful children's garden.
Yes. Right.
And we really didn't have any problems with it. And, I taught him on that trip, I taught him to, when there were crowds of people and he wanted to get through, to say, excuse me.
Right. The expectations.
Just setting those expectations from the very beginning
Yes.
and reminding him gently, okay, here comes a group of people. If you're going by, what do you say? Excuse me.
Right.
And by the end of the trip, he was doing it every time.
Right. Right.
So just setting those expectations in a positive way and letting them know, here's what you do, and teaching them.
Yes.
Because that's what parenting is, teaching.
Right. It's exactly that. And, the other thing to follow on from that I found that really helps is just follow through. Sometimes it's a lot easier to give in, and only make, I hate the word threats, but only kind of make, say something to the children that you will follow through on.
Yes.
Not like, we will never come back here again if you're at a grocery store, because you will come back again. The chances are with your child. Because I remember one time I was in I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the store, but I was at Target with my girls when they were little, and I remember one of them wanted to buy something, and we didn't want to buy it, so I said, we can't buy that today, and she did throw a tantrum. I said, look, we need to stop, or we are going to leave the store, and she wouldn't stop, so we left the store, and that never happened again. The tantrum, it stopped then and there, so they knew the next time. When I said, and they were there and they started, I said, look, if we continue this, we're going to leave. They straight away stopped because they knew that I wasn't going
That's
to.
right.
It wasn't like, one more time.
Right.
That's when children know that they can push the boundaries as far as they want. Like, you have to follow through as to what you, and do what you said you would do. And, had I said we'll never come back, then I have to make it a threat, then I should never come back. But it's not realistic, so I never said that because I knew. But that I think really helps in terms of the long-term discipline. It really, and they know they can trust you on that. Otherwise, they can't trust you. They'll continue on pushing, and it becomes a nightmare for the parent and the child.
And every child tests boundaries.
Yes, for sure.
Every child does, and it starts younger than I ever realized. I mean, even as young as 5 or 6 months old.
Yes.
My older one was trying to do things that to see if he could get away with them.
Oh yes, I have a middle child.
There were times where he wasn't even actively nursing, and he trying to get the teeth out.
Yeah.
I go, no, that hurts.
Yeah. And then
you bite, no milk.
Right.
And he would smile at me like, who, me?
Right. Sweet innocent look.
Yeah, but he learned.
Yeah.
He learned. And that just really following through was absolutely what I found. And sometimes it's hard because some kids, for whatever reason, are more stubborn than others. And I know my older one is very stubborn. She can't imagine where he gets it from. Right. But, I just sometimes I have to out-stubborn him.
Right.
And other times I have to question myself, okay, what's most important?
Yes, right.
What's most important?
Pick your battles, Ken.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pick your battles. Pick your
For
battles.
sure, definitely.
You know, am I going to fight him on the fact that he's wearing, you know, his flannel-lined overalls on a August day that's planned that we expect to get up into the 90s, or do I just say, okay, you're going to be hot, but you've got shorts in your bag?
And it's not.
And when you get to school and you're hot, you ask your teacher if you can change into your shorts.
And that's natural consequence too.
Right.
I find in winter when one of my children didn't want to wear a jacket, as much as I wanted to just put the jacket on them, I would say, okay, let's go outside, and within about 2.3 minutes, they would be wanting to wear their jacket. And so then, like you said, pick your battles kind of thing, and that really made the difference. So then, you know, because I thought there's no sense in fighting it. Nature's going to fight it for me anyway.
And of course, setting them up so that they can change their mind.
Oh, yes, giving them that.
Have the jacket available, have the shorts available for them.
Yeah, and giving them choices that, you know, if you feel like it, you're welcome to have this and that. Would you like the jacket, or would you like to stay cold? They'll say, I wear the jacket. And then you give them the jacket.
Right.
And they like to be able to have that power to make choices.
Yes. Well, and that's the other thing. One of the things that we do with our 4-year-old is we give him choices as far as, you know, what are you having for breakfast today? It's not just an open-ended, what are you having? It's, okay, would you like
a bagel or boiled egg? Or
exactly. Or for lunch today, would you like chips, crackers, and chips, cheese, and guacamole, or would you like to have a sandwich? And just giving him that choice.
Yes.
You know, he has very limited choices, but he can choose among those things.
And in the same way, when you're for moms who are working on weaning, you can a lot of times you can say to them, you have a choice. I'd like you to have the chips and the apple. Right. You can have Milkies beforehand, or you can have it after. Which would you like? And then they do that. And if they don't, then say, okay, if they choose not, if they go back on their word and not have that, then you can say, well, then we're going to have to skip the next feed and follow through. And then they know that you know, that's a choice. Choices are a wonderful thing for children, because it gives them the power, and it gives you, and you know, they're little humans, so they also, like us, we don't like to be told what to do. We like a choice. You know. That's right. They're little people.
So do you have any stories of where you've used the loving guidance and gentle discipline with your children that you'd like to share? You don't have to. I just don't want to leave you in the back with that.
Well, no, she was talking about with the writing thing. Yes, one time Alita asked me, like, you know, she would be playing with me and say, well, I'm going to bite you, or, you know, like as if, you know, do if I bite you, and then I told her, I was like, well, if you bite me, you're never ever going to get in the milk again.
Right.
And then she was like, well, then I won't bite you.
Right. She knew.
Yeah. So, but she was old enough, because she was like 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she could understand the consequences. Right.
Yeah. Right. So you can have, like, when they're older, you can have like a conversation, and then you can negotiate it.
Yes.
Right. Negotiation. That's right.
Well, and one of the things that we did with night weaning, because that's another common topic, is, okay, we want to drop a feed. Nighttime feeds can be hard to drop.
Right.
One of the things that we did was we used a music box.
Okay.
And we said, okay, you can have Milkies until the music stops. And when the music stops, Milkies go to bed, and so do you.
Right.
And the Milkies don't come out until morning.
Till morning, till the sun comes
out. And that was just one of those things that we did, and it took a little while, but it was so worth it.
Yes.
To get him, and you know, we gave him the alternatives. You know, we had a binky in the crib for him at that point, because he was over a year at that point. We had a bottle of water in the crib for him, so if he was waking up thirsty, he had something to drink, but he wasn't yelling for milk. You know, he had the music box would light up when he pushed a button, so he had it was like a nightlight music box, so he could turn that on and he could lay there and have something soothing to look at. You know, it took a few weeks, but he went from waking up multiple times at night to we would put him to bed, and 12 hours later he would be up. And I didn't have to go in there in between most nights. So, you know, it took time and effort, but it was well worth the investment, especially because by that point I was pregnant with the younger one. So that was really what motivated us. Yeah, I would say that it's definitely worth doing it. We never, you know, yes, he would cry, but we never just left him to cry.
Yes,
We
right.
would, we would have someone go in and sit on the chair in his room, and he would still be in his crib, but we'd say, sweetie, I know you're upset, I know you're awake, but it's time to be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's dark outside, and that's where we got, it's dark outside, what's that mean? Dark outside means bedtime.
Right, right.
And he would repeat that, dark outside means bedtime.
Mm-hmm.
So that would we just built those scripts into his routine, his daily routines. And over time he realized, okay, it's okay if I wake up in the middle of the night, but I don't need to yell and scream to get attention. I can just relax in bed until I fall back to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he does that.
Right.
And he started doing that at not quite a year and a half.
Right, right.
And I know people who have started even sooner than that with some success. I would say probably not much before a year.
Right.
Because at that point they're just not quite ready for that.
Right, and they're gonna at that point, up until that point, they're gonna wake up quite a few times just to nurse.
That's right. That's
because
right.
they need the nursing too. So.
And one of the things to remember is that nighttime nursing in general is not just, especially after they've started eating other foods, it's not just for nutrition. It's comfort.
The comfort, right? Which they need. Right, right.
So sometimes that nighttime nursing in older infants is less because they're hungry and more because they need comfort. Maybe they had a bad dream, or they woke up and they're not sure what to do with themselves. So just having that presence.
And even the the milestones they go through between sitting up their first time, food the first time, walking first few steps. They need that comfort of knowing mom is right there.
Absolutely.
And for every family is unique. I mean, some families will choose to co-sleep, and should you choose to co-sleep, for as long as however long you like, to just make sure that nobody is drinking and sleeping. Nobody has taken any pain medication that could make them overlie the baby. There's no extra pillows that could smother the baby. The bed is up against a wall, or there's a rail on the side so the baby cannot fall off the bed. You do not sleep on a easy chair with the baby. A lot of moms will feel they can't co-sleep, but then they wake up and they sit in an easy chair thinking it's safer, but they fall asleep and the baby falls off out of their arms. That's very dangerous. So, but co-sleeping itself, as long as you are very safe, that's fine. But then, when you I've lost my train of thought.
Well, Leche League has a newer book that came out last year called Sweet Sleep. And they have the Safe Sleep 7, which are the 7 rules for safe co-sleep.
Which is all in there, which is great. And that's those things will help a lot of times the baby to be able to get through those milestones in life, that they feel comfortable, that they are able to, they know that mom is there present. If you decide to co-sleep for 6 months or for 5 years or whatever, it's just it's another way to make them comfortable. But it's got to work for everybody. So if co-sleeping isn't working for one parent, then you can gently kind of give them gentle guidance to be able to sleep next to you in the same room, or in a crib, or however you choose.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is we talk about co-sleeping, but co-sleeping doesn't have to be in the same bed. It doesn't have to be bed sharing. It can be room sharing. With my older one, he moves around a lot in his sleep. So sharing a bed with him just wasn't practical after he was a couple months old. It just didn't work for us because he was all over the bed and all over us, and he thought it was playtime.
Right.
So having his own space helped him calm down and stay asleep.
Yes, right.
Whereas with our younger one, very different personality, he was very happy to snuggle in bed with me.
Right.
And we often bed shared.
Yes.
Up until and even past when he was a year old.
Right.
So that was, each child is different within the same family. So paying attention to what works for one child may not be exactly what works for another child in the same family.
Yes, right.
And circumstances change. I went back to work after my first, but by the time I had my second, I was no longer working. So my sleep needs were somewhat different. My scheduling needs were somewhat different.
Yeah, it's definitely different from a mom who's working outside the home.
Right.
Versus if you're not working outside. Everybody's working. It's just a different kind of work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just a different kind of work. Or additional work. Yeah.
That's right. And figuring out which parent will be responsible for which nighttime responsibilities. That's right. Who's putting which child to bed if there are multiple children, who's doing which steps. And even getting ready in the morning. I know when I was working, after my older one was born, I had to get ready and I had to be out of the house before my husband did to get to work.
Right.
So I would actually wake him up. The deal was he had to wake up at a certain time to help get our son ready so that I had time to get myself ready because I was trying to get 2 people ready.
It's hard, yeah.
So that was something that we had to work out.
Yes, yeah. And not a lot of families have the luxury of having one parent at home for a certain time period, and a lot of families don't, that both parents have to work just to make ends meet financially.
That's right.
So, and both families are fine, it's just different circumstances.
Absolutely. And those families who have only one parent who's at home most of the time.
Right.
And that's not just, single parents or parents who have families where one parent is on extended leave or is in the military or wherever they're traveling a lot for work, things like that. So when you have situations where there is only one parent in the household on a regular basis, you have to find different things that work for your family.
Right.
And that's where friends and family can come in and help support.
Yes, right.
So, and that's neighbors even may come into play. One of my good friends, would have a neighbor come over and watch her children just for an hour or so that she could shower and start the laundry and do things like that, just to get some things done so she had some peace and quiet. Because she didn't have another parent in the household to share the burden with. And that could be very difficult. And she didn't have family close by to help her. Right. So she made a deal with her neighbor, which worked.
For sure. And that works out too. A lot of people have, if their children play together, they'll have a sort of a deal where one of the friends will take care of all the kids while the other one, and then vice versa.
That's right. So. And that's one of the things that's wonderful about support groups, local support groups, and going in person. To a group like the Leche League is you can make those connections
for sure. Yes.
That you might not, because we've sort of, as we talked about last month, it takes a village to raise a child, but we've sort of lost that village atmosphere, and people are trying to rebuild it, and a lot of that is online, but having that face-to-face support,
and that's partly why
so important.
I'm sorry, and partly why we're doing these meetings, because a lot of moms are not always able to come out to the meetings, so then you can at least get some support online.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we are available, all 5 of the leaders in Lehigh County are available by phone. We also have, several of us have our email addresses available, and we take text messages. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I frequently will wind up getting messages through social media for the Lehigh Valley Breastfeeding Coalition, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. People contact me however they can, and I respond as quickly as I can.
No, it's nice that there's so many different modes of ways to communicate with us, and we're happy to help you in any way we can, whether it's by by telephone, by text message, by email, whichever.
And since we're talking about how to contact us, one of the ways to contact us is by going to LehighValleyBreastfeeding.org and going to the resource guide, and we are listed under both support groups and helplines.
Yes.
La Leche League of Lehigh County, La Leche League of Bethlehem, and other support groups in the area. And I have spoken to, through the coalition, I've spoken to the leaders and the professionals who work with all of those, and they all say it doesn't matter which group you go to, get the support you need. Go to every group if you need to. Just get the help you need.
And early.
Your goals. Yes.
And don't leave it thinking, oh, it'll get better, it'll get better. Even if you're not sure, just please call one of us. Please, contact one of us, and we can, maybe nothing is wrong, maybe something can be corrected. The sooner we get to it, the sooner we can help you with any issues. It's a lot easier to correct things, when they're in the new stages.
And help from La Leche League is always free, although we do have memberships available, which help keep the group running and help pay to maintain our library and keep the leaders going to conferences and education to keep us up to date. and there are some benefits to that. You get the email newsletter from the Leche League, and there are some other perks that you can get.
Yes. But that's, again, it's voluntary.
Right, it's voluntary.
No
it's always
requirement.
Free to get help from the Leche League
Yes,
leaders. And
sure.
you can contact any Leche League leader anywhere.
Right.
You don't have to have one that's in your area. And if there's one that you've formed a connection with, you can certainly contact that person even if they aren't in your area.
Yeah, we've had people who, we may have met them here and they moved to the other side of the country or to another country, and they'll still contact us, and we communicate with them via email or text or WhatsApp or whatever.
And women who are expecting, maybe you don't have a child yet, we do welcome pregnant women and expectant women. And we also we've had quite a few nurses come in to learn more about what we do and how to support women who want to breastfeed.
When I went through nursing school, and part of it is working on a community project, and La Leche League, I explained to them that we could do that, and since then we've had a few nurses come in and do their project based on La Leche League, and it's been great. So
it's all back to last month's topic about building a village.
Yes,
and helping each other out and providing that support that people need.
Definitely.
Would it be appropriate, what if someone out there is interested in becoming a leader so they can help them?
Absolutely. There are ways to become a leader. One of the requirements from La Leche League to become a La Leche League leader is to attend, I believe it's at least 4 meetings.
Right, one series of the meetings.
One series, because we have different topics that we speak about, to attend 4 different topics of the meetings.
Right.
In person, and then there's a process, an application process, and training that's involved.
Yes.
Both in person and also written.
Right. Yeah, you'll be assigned to a leader within the organization who then kind of walk you through the different assignments you have to do and the different projects it takes. Usually, I think I had short mine just because I wanted to start the Leche League when I was in another country a few years back, but it takes about 1 year to 2 years, depending roughly, to become a leader. So, but it's definitely possible.
Yes, absolutely. So we are coming up on 8 o'clock. We're at 6:50, 7:50 now.
Okay.
So unless there are any more topics that we want to talk about, we can end the meeting.
Is the second one? For the title?
For Julia?
Our meetings we pick fun titles. So this year we chose a theme of famous women.
Right.
So tonight's meeting was Sacagawea Loving Gudiance.
Right.
But that's not the official La Leche League title. I think it was
this one was the weaning
that might be it.
starting the baby on solids, I believe. I think the August meeting is. And then
I think the solids is later.
Sorry.
I think solids might be November's meeting.
Right. In terms of the actual broad topic. So, but this was, I think, and then next month will be. Next month will be, advantages of we go through the different kind of cycles.
Yes. Advantages of breastfeeding is one, weaning and older children is one, right? Nutrition. I know some of the other topics that we talked about were breastfeeding and work, and pumping, and some of those are subcategories. Which we'll go through meetings. Right. So at this point, we're going to end our meeting. If you have any other questions and would like to reach out, please check out LehighValleyBreastfeeding.org, their resource guide to find us. We also have our own website on La Leche League. It's LLL of EasternPA.org. And then you can use the map or the web pages to find the La Leche League of Lehigh County. All right.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes,
it was our pleasure to be here, and we hope to see you next week.